Hello children, welcome to a lesson through the Virtual Training Center of the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai under the Work from Home sessions. My name is Shraddha teacher and I will be teaching you English and some parts of social studies this year. Today children, we are meeting here for a lesson in standard 10th English, and the name of the lesson is the Alchemy of Nature. Now in this particular lesson, the poet wants to tell us, or the person who's written the lesson wants to tell us, that nature is our best teacher. Alright, there are so many different things that we can learn from nature, even if we don't have the opportunity to see nature around us in cities. For example, we can always try to observe the little things which are available to us. We may not be able to witness a jungle in which there are lots of animals and in which there are lots of trees, but with the small things that are around us, a few potted plants, you can sometimes see birds in your near your neighborhood, you can see animals in your neighborhood, okay, you can see things like ants, insects, etc. All these things, they teach us a lot of things. They teach us a lot of lessons in our life. That is what, when we look at the things around us in nature. Now, like I told you, there are not many things that we people from cities can claim that we know. We can see nature every day, but there are simple things like flowers, okay, there are simple things like animals which we can see around us, which represent nature. The flowers around us, the domestic animals around us, the wild animals in the forest, the grass that you can see here on the screen, the flowers on the screen, the rain, the stone, everything that you can see around you and nature has given it to us, the plants, all these things are part of nature and they do teach us something or the other. Let us try to see the glimpse of a lesson. Now this is an English lesson children, and we have hardly 15 minutes here in this particular slot. So what we usually do is, we do not read the entire lesson and try to explain it to you, but we will see the glimpse of the lesson. We will see what the lesson or what the author or the writer wants to tell us. So the first example that the author is telling us is about the hibiscus flower. Now we have all seen flowers and all of us have seen the hibiscus flower in particular. We also call it as the shoe flower. Now children, it is not only about the hibiscus flower. The hibiscus flower has been named here just as an example. But any flower if you take, you will see that it is extremely attractive. Okay, it has got beautiful colors, beautiful patterns. You will see that certain flowers are so fragrant that when it blooms around you, the fragrance spreads in all directions. Especially we have a flower called as the Raat Ki Rani. Alright, if you have one plant or one shrub of the Raat Ki Rani in your area, the entire area you will see that there is a nice, beautiful, sweet smell and the sweet fragrance around you. So when we are talking about flowers, it is not only about the hibiscus flower, it is about flowers in general. So you can see that the flowers are bright, they are beautiful, they give you a lot of beauty, they give you a lot of fragrance. But have you ever noticed that any flower, it blooms in the mornings, isn't it? Most of the flowers, except for a few flowers like the Ratrani which I told you now, it blooms in the morning and it smiles and it spreads a lot of, you can say, joy throughout the day. And as the evening sets in, you will see that this flower starts wilting. That is, it starts getting weaker and weaker, it starts losing its beauty, and it even starts shedding its petals, isn't it? And look at this hibiscus flower in the evening. See how it has become? It has collapsed, you can see, and it changes its color also. What does the story of a flower tell you? And what can you learn from the story of a flower? The flower has got such a small life, isn't it? It blooms in the morning and it dies in the evening. But then, does it spread less joy? It gives us so much joy, isn't it? We human beings have got such a nice life. We live for 60, 70 years, and we've got such a beautiful life. God has given us such a beautiful world around us. So if a flower which lives only for 24 hours, not even 24 hours, if that flower can give us so much joy and happiness, then why can't we human beings also live in joy? So this is one lesson that we can learn from Mother Nature, isn't it? He's given us one more instance, and look at this. This is the rough ocean. Whenever you go to a beach, you must have seen the water from the ocean rushing towards the beach in the form of these waves. And here in the second picture, you will see that these waves, they go and hit the major, big, huge rocks. And in places, they tend to break these rocks down. Now you can imagine how strong these rocks are. But the water and the waves persistently every day, they go and they hit the rocks and they hit the rocks. They never get tired. Alright, and one fine day they are able to make a dent. They are able to change the shape of these rocks. What does this teach you? This teaches you that you should never think that you are small. You should never think that you can never make a change in the world. However small we are, if we keep trying, if we work hard, there is definitely some kind of change, some kind of positivity that we can bring to this world. Okay? So we should never doubt our capacities. This is what we are learning from this wave, which can even break down and change the shape of rocks, isn't it? In one more instance, you will see the grass. You know where the grass grows? The grass requires a lot of soil to grow. It requires mud. It requires water. Alright? But at some places you will see these kind of plants and grass growing from cracks in the concrete on the roads. Have you seen this ever? That when there is a little bit of rain, and on the sides of the road when there is a footpath, you will see between the gaps in the concrete, you will see beautiful small flowering plants or grass sprouting life. Okay, so what does this mean? That even in a very difficult situation, even if there is no money, even if your health is not with you, you can still, with hard work, with patience, with a lot of courage, you can make a lot of change in your life. So a grass, it requires mud, it requires soil, it requires water to grow. But even if nothing is available, it can still grow if it has got courage and if it has got self-confidence. So this is also one lesson that we can learn from nature, isn't it? And the one more lesson, there are many such instances which are given in this particular lesson. You can read them. I'll be just giving you a few of these examples. Okay, now look at this. Isn't this an amazing picture? Look at the size of the ant and look at the size of the load that it is carrying. What does this tell you? This tells you that nothing is impossible, isn't it? If it was a human being, he would have looked at the load and he would have said, oh my God, this is not going to be possible. I am so much and this load is so big. And he would have had so many doubts, isn't it? But look at this small, tiny ant. It is carrying a load which is 4 or 5 times its size. That is the kind of confidence it has got in itself. So what should we human beings do? We should also develop this kind of confidence in ourselves and tell ourselves that yes, I can. Okay, instead of saying no, I can't, you should always try to say yes, I can. Only then you will be able to achieve great heights in life. So this entire lesson, children, I advise you to stop this video for some time, go back and read this lesson again. Most of the instances that I have explained to you here using pictures, you will be able to visualize when you read the lesson again. There are some other examples also given to you in the textbook. Okay, so now we will look at what the meaning of this lesson is. In this next exercise, in a quick line, we will see what the meaning of the exercise is. So rearrange the good qualities in each set so that the first letter of each of the word should make a meaningful word. So join the sets and get a message. So this is not only an exercise in vocabulary, but this is the message of the lesson. So let us try and solve it now. Now children, this is a video. I am recording the video continuously. It is not interactive. That is, when we are in a virtual class, I ask you a question and I give you an opportunity to answer me. Here that is not possible. So what should you do at such a point? When there is a question which has come up like this, you should pause your video. You should try to answer the question and then you should replay the video again and check the answers. Okay, so this is how you can do some self-learning. You can use some self-learning techniques. Okay, so look here now, let's try and see what the first word is. So understanding, adaptable, tolerant, neat, encouraging, resourceful. So we will try and arrange all the first letters U, A, T, N, E, R, and let's see what is the word that we get. Yes, it is nature, isn't it? Next one, selfless and inspiring. So let us take S and I. So the next word is. So you have nature is. In the next one you have youthful and modest. So you have Y and M. When rearranged, it becomes my. And then you have the next one, affectionate, A, C from the compassionate, E from empathetic, E from earnest, H from honest, R from reliable, and T from trustworthy. Here the word is teacher. So what is the message? Yes, the message is very simple. Nature is my teacher, isn't it? And we saw it in the instances that we saw from the textbook, that how nature is your teacher, because the flowers in nature, the water in the nature, the insects in nature, the plants in nature, they teach you so many things only if you have a positive mindset to look at these things and try to understand the message or the lesson that they want to give you. So children, this was about the lesson. Now there are two small exercises, one based on nouns and the other based on verbs, which we will see now. So let's see the first exercise based on nouns. Now children, you know there are different kinds of nouns. You have concrete nouns, you have collective nouns. Okay, so we will pick up 10 examples of concrete nouns from this lesson. So what are concrete nouns? Concrete nouns are those words that you can touch or you can see. So which is the technique that you will use now here? You will pause the video, you will go through your textbook and try to find out 10 examples of concrete nouns, and then you will come and check what teacher is saying and see whether your answers are right. Okay, so let's see what the concrete nouns are. The first example is given here for you, sand. Let's look at the other examples. Flower is a concrete noun. Beach is a concrete noun. Rocks are an example of concrete nouns. Water is a concrete noun. A noun is anything, a name of a place, a name of a person, a name of a thing, a name of an idea. Okay, and anything, any noun that you can touch or you can see is a concrete noun. Then you have grass, and you have leaves, and you have ant. So these are all the words which are concrete nouns in your lesson. Let us look at the next example, abstract nouns, against, opposite of the concrete nouns. Concrete nouns you can see and touch. Abstract nouns you cannot see, you cannot touch. These are all mostly ideas, these are feelings. Okay, so infinity is an example of an abstract noun. Then you have wind, then you have problems, then you have teamwork, perseverance, passion, ego, alchemy, idea, imagination, joy. So all these things you cannot see them, you cannot touch them, you might feel them. Okay, so they are all examples of abstract nouns. So you can again go back and watch this video again and again and get all the words and check them and see whether they are correct. Now, like I told you, we have one exercise on verbs. Let us see what they are. Before we go there, let's see what are the types of verbs. All of us know what are verbs. We are in standard 10th now. So verbs are words which indicate action. When you do something, you use a word to describe that action, and that is called as a verb. Now in this particular lesson, we are going to look at two types of verbs. We are going to see what transitive verbs are and what intransitive verbs are. Alright, so let's first see what transitive verbs are. So a transitive verb is a verb that accepts one or more object. Okay, so in a sentence you have a subject, a verb and an object. In some sentences you have a subject and a verb and there is no object present. So a sentence in which there is a verb and there is an object along with it, then that verb there is a transitive verb. For example, see, the cat bit him. So the cat is the subject, bit is the verb, him is the object. Whom did the cat bite? The cat bit him. So when you say the cat bit, here the verb becomes incomplete. The verb is not giving you a complete idea. When you say him, that is when you add the object, then your sentence becomes meaningful. Okay, so the verb here, that is bit means the action of biting, is a transitive verb. Look at the other examples. We are going to need a bigger truck. So need here is a verb which is transitive, because what are you going to need? A bigger truck. You need to fill in this form. Filling in is an action. What do you have to fill in? This form. Okay, so these are some examples of transitive verb, and like I told you, a sentence has got a subject, a verb and an object. And see, she ate a hot dog. Now ate is what? Ate is a verb here. So when you add a hot dog, what did she eat? She ate a hot dog. Okay, so ate what is important to know. You should know what she ate, isn't it? So here the verb is transitive. Okay, in other words, a verb which takes an object, sometimes it could be one object or sometimes it could be more than one object. Alright, so more than one object means sometimes there is a direct object and an indirect object. So in these cases, the verb is said to be in transitive form. Remember children, it is based on the usage of a verb. Certain verbs in certain sentences they could be transitive, in certain other sentences they could be intransitive. Now let us look at the other type of verb here, intransitive verb. So exactly the opposite of a transitive verb. An intransitive verb is simply defined as a verb that does not take a direct object. In other words, it is not done to someone or something. It only involves the subject. So instead of the S plus V plus O, S plus V plus O is subject plus verb plus object. In this case of intransitive verb, we have the S plus V, that is subject plus verb. There is no need for the object here, or the object doesn't have an important role. Let us look at the examples here. She grew up. Okay, it rained. He laughed. Every single person voted. So here you have a subject and you have the verb. She is the subject. Grew up is the verb. It is the subject. rained is a verb, he is the subject, laughed is a verb, and so on. So these are, or this is the meaning of intransitive verb. See one more easy explanation, you will be able to understand it very fast. Transitive verbs are used with a direct object. So see here, he wrote a letter. He is in dark blue, which is a subject. Wrote is in red color, which is a transitive verb, because what he wrote is important, isn't it? So what has he written here? He's written a letter, which is a direct object. So these are examples of, here the wrote is an example of a transitive verb. Look at the next example. Jessica reads a book. So who is Jessica? She is the subject. What is she doing? She is reading. What is she reading? She is reading a book. Okay, so here the verb read is a transitive verb. Let us look at some examples of intransitive verbs now. Intransitive verbs are used without a direct object, I told you. So it is the S plus V pattern, subject plus verb pattern. There is no need for the plus O or plus object. Okay, so look at the example. John is sleeping. Who is the subject here? John. What is John doing? John is sleeping. So is John doing this action of sleeping to someone else? No. John is a subject and he is sleeping. So it is the S plus V pattern. There is no O here. So here in this case, sleeping is an intransitive verb. I repeat that a verb can be in the transitive form or the intransitive form depending on its usage in a sentence. So you cannot point out at a verb and say this is transitive or this will always be transitive. When it is used in another sentence, depending on the situation, that verb can become intransitive too. So children, this was about transitive and intransitive verbs. Let us look at some examples. So you have to underline the verb and say whether they are transitive or intransitive. So one can witness and experience the beauty of heaven. So what is one witnessing? What is one experiencing? The beauty of heaven. So here witness and experience both are examples of transitive verbs because they need a object. It leaves me in complete awe. Okay, so it is leaving you in what? In complete awe. So leave here is an example of transitive verb. Nature soothes and nurtures. What does nature soothe and nurture? Nature soothes and nurtures us, isn't it? So even though the object is not mentioned here, it is understood. So soothes and nurtures, both are actions which are transitive. See, it withers completely. So withers is intransitive because there is no object here. The flower comes to life only for a day. Comes is intransitive because it doesn't take an object here. The rainbow colors the entire sky. What does the rainbow color? The entire sky. So the entire sky is the object. So here the verb colors is transitive. It smiles and dances. So see, it smiles means it is smiling. There is no need for an object. It dances means it is dancing. There is no need for an object. So in this case, smiles the verb is intransitive and dances the verb is intransitive. So children, that was all for today. Let us wind up this session. We looked at the points or the major instances or the major learnings in the lesson Nature's Alchemy. We looked at the various points that the author has told us in order to drive the point home that nature is our biggest teacher. We looked at some grammar points also. We looked at what are nouns, that is what are concrete nouns, and we also looked at the transitive verbs and the intransitive verbs. So that was all for today. In case you have a doubt, you can go and rewind this video. You can watch this video again and again. Okay, so that is all for now from the Virtual Training Center of the Brihan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika. Thank you till we meet again. पानी पानी दे पानी। थक जाती है यार कंटिन्यूसली बोलना। तू कितना सीखा बे इधर बैठ के? कितना सीखा? सतीश दरवाज़ा खोल दे। और वो डैडी को देख क्या देता।